Are you ready to meet with God? I know it sounds like a really dramatic thing to ask, but the time is coming, of course, when we all will meet God face to face. And the older I get, the more I think about that, of course. But I'm sure, like me, you've known other people as well who've died young as well. So it's something that we need to be thinking about of whatever stage of life we're at. And of course, we don't know when Jesus is going to return either. And if he returns during our lifetime, then we need to be ready to meet with him. Let me tell you the story of a great saint who I had the privilege of having in one of my congregations many years ago when I was a vicar in the East End of London. And her name was Ivy. Now, Ivy was an elderly lady and she was widowed. Her husband, Frank, had died many years before. Now, Ivy was the organist in our church. She was a strong woman. She was about 4'1", but my goodness me, she scared the life out of me. Typical East End woman. And Ivy was the organist in our church, and she'd been made the organist on a temporary basis in 1941 during the Blitz in London, and she'd offered to stand in for a short while the organist went off to serve his country. And anyway, she was still the organist when I arrived in 1996. Now, Ivy was desperate to do 60 years as the organist. That was her really big thing. And she always used to say to me, when I've done 60 years, I will be ready to give up as the organist, and I'll be ready to go home and meet God and be reunited with Frank again. So the 60th anniversary was drawing close. And I did a surprise service for her. I got a letter and a signed photo from the Archbishop of Canterbury. I got the Bishop of Chelmsford to come down and lead the service. I did a sort of "This is your life" and invited back all her friends and everything. And we had this really big celebration of Ivy's life and ministry in the church. And it was a beautiful day. And I remember on the Sunday evening, about 8 o'clock, Ivy phoned me. And she said, "Thank you so much for a really beautiful day. I'm ready to go home now." And I wasn't quite sure what she meant, because I thought she was at home. But 2 days later, she died in her sleep. And it was almost as if she had fulfilled what she wanted to do. And now she knew it was time to go home and be reunited with Frank, her husband, and to come into the presence of God for all eternity. And it always served for me as a really amazing lesson of somebody who knew what it was to have lived a life that was fulfilled, and to be ready to meet with God whenever it was the right time. And ever since having met Ivy, I've always felt challenged. Am I ready to meet with God? Are you ready to meet with God? How do we prepare for that? Well, I think it's partly, well, no, not partly, I think it's wholly about being intentional in our spirituality. I think it's about living every single day in the light of the knowledge that one day we will die, or if we haven't died, one day Jesus will return again. And so it's about being intentional in terms of our prayer life and our spirituality and our the decisions we make during each and every day to serve God to the best of our ability, to love God, to worship him, and to serve others as well. But there's another dimension to this as well, of course, which is this, that when we meet God, it's not just when we die. We meet with God essentially every single day of our lives. God, the transcendence of God breaks into the ordinary of our world. That's what the kingdom of God is all about. So each and every day, you and I have the opportunity to meet God in the ordinary of our lives. And so the spiritual disciplines that we undertake are not just a preparation for when we've died. The spiritual disciplines that we undertake are a preparation for meeting God in each and every moment of our life. How we prepare for each day through prayer, how we prepare for each day through Bible study, through fasting, through meditation on the scriptures and so on and so forth, is essential for us to be able to meet with God as he shows up in the ordinary of our lives. So, are you ready to meet with God? Will you be able to be like Ivy at the end of your life and go, do you know what? I'm ready to go home now. But just as importantly, are you ready to meet God in the here and now, today? When God shows up in the ordinary of your world today, will you be ready to meet with him and to serve him and love him to the best of your ability, so that each and every day of your life, God can look at you and he can look at me and say, well done, good and faithful servant.